Hello everybody and welcome to my channel, The Real Super Sam. Today is another comic book review and I hope you enjoy. And welcome to a brand new hashtag Spider-Man Sunday. Today I'm reviewing the very first Spider-Man annual ever, and this one has one of Spider-Man's greatest battles in it when he first goes up against the Sinister Six. The Sinister Six are six Spider-Man villains that have teamed up and has had many different members and many different interpretations. Namely, in Spider-Man PS4, personally, Mr. Negative being part of the group I don't like, especially if this is Mr. Negative's first appearance. It should be someone like Mysterio or Sandman, or even better, Hydro Man. And also, if you didn't know, an annual is way bigger than a single issue, and this one was Spidey's first one. Not only did he go up against the Sinister Six, but he seems to have lost his powers at the same time as the Sinister Six has formed. In the story, Spider-Man has mysteriously lost his powers, and now worries about what to do with himself. I think the start of this annual is great, a Spider-Man 101, and anyone can read it, even if it's their first Spider-Man comic ever. But at the same time, Dr. Octopus has escaped from prison and has assembled 5 other Spider-Man rogues to work with him to form the Sinister Six. I personally think this is the greatest Sinister Six panel for character background ever, especially Kraven and Doc Ock. We see each of these personalities, mostly. They each decide to take turns to each attack Spider-Man. Even if he beats one, he'll have to fight the next one until, or if he survives, to the end. They decide to kidnap Betty Brant. That will force Spider-Man to attack them. He can't just ignore them now. They also accidentally kidnap May Parker. There's a funny scene where we see Electro, in his full costume and even his mask, driving to pick up and kidnap Betty Brant. Jameson sees this and swears he sees Sandman and Electro. Jameson tries to get other heroes to help him find Spider-Man, but they all can't help. I feel this part was just for Stan Lee and Ditko to fulfill their promise of including a bunch of superheroes. They don't really do anything, they just appear. The Fantastic Four are the biggest guest stars in the comic, which of course I love. The Human Torch writes out a message in Flame to Spidey. The X-Men see it, but Professor X just ignores it. Back then, he would have done that. The X-Men, don't worry, later this year I have a plan to talk about them on the channel. Ever since this, even in issue 800, there has been this sort of care and, dare I say, love between Dr. Octopus and Aunt May. It starts here. I like how Aunt May says Doc Ock is a soft-spoken gentleman, and later she says not to talk about his metal arms, his handicap. Peter Parker, without his powers, dons his costume once again and faces off his first obstacle, Electro. He realizes he never lost his power after he dodged a lightning bolt. It was all in his head because of his guilt about Uncle Ben, but now he's expected it and runs a gauntlet of his most dangerous foes. One of the best things about this issue are all the superhero cameos, like Doctor Strange just walking on the sidewalk. My favorite is Giant Man and the Wasp, especially with Peter Parker saying he would have been teamed up with them if he was still Spider-Man. The way it's written, it's just from a comic of Ant-Man, especially the banter between Giant Man and Wasp. And after fighting Electro, he leaves to clean up to an Avenger, Iron Man. Spider-Man for the second time runs into the Human Torch on his own and starts to fight him. Just a little friendly fight, but man, I'm almost on the Torch's side. Spider-Man's being a jerk to him. He tells Spider-Man about Jameson wanting to speak with him. Spidey then just carries on, without the Torch's help, which I find kind of dumb, or maybe he didn't ask because of embarrassment for attacking him for no good reason 2 times, the first time being in issue 8. During all the fights between Spider-Man and his rogues is the stuff with Jameson trying to get in contact with Spider-Man and even yelling at a random spider. There's character building between the fights with Dr. Octopus also. Otto Ock's different when it comes to people accidentally mixed into the superpowered rivalry, and because of that he treats Aunt May as a guest, and she thinks Doc Ock is a charming gentleman. In fact, Aunt May seems to enjoy the kidnapping and ironically worries about Peter. So the fights, each one has giant one-page panels in them, which are poster-worthy. I love them. The fights are lesser than in the villain single issues though. Most of them don't even get captured, but I don't think they were planning ahead to have the villains return. I mean, Spider-Man just leaves Kraven on his own, not even tying him up. He does the same with Mysterio too, and Sandman. It's interesting Spider-Man had to fight Vulture without his web shooters, but here is the first time Spider-Man fights Dr. Octopus's arms unattached to him. At the end, Spider-Man reaches Betty Brant and Aunt May. Ah, Aunt May, she delivers some of the best lines in this issue. She even wants to look for Dr. Octopus to thank him for being such a nice host. Man, I love this comic. There is so much more I can compare it to, like Doc Ock and his arms moving on their own, or Electro in the power stations. Like, here he just recharges himself with them. In future issues, they can make him more powerful. The ending is better than Gold. Aunt May realizes something that shocks her. No, not that she was just kidnapped by the Sinister Six, but that she missed the Beverly Hillbillies. Then she tells Pete to watch his mouth. I like how the Torch stands up for Spidey against Jameson even after their fights. He seems to enjoy making Jameson mad. I didn't show you guys, but it seems Spider-Man and the Human Torch patch up the old rivalry a bit here, too. The Sinister Six go to jail together at the end, ending the Sinister Six forever, or at least for 26 years. The Sinister Six have become a staple in Spider-Man's mythos, maybe the biggest when it comes to comics to the rogues. This is a great start to it. I love how each villain has their time to shine separately, but if we get them all in a movie, I hope the final battle doesn't go like this. Ultimately, at the end, all the villains' egos get the better of them. It was a really great adventure Spider-Man comic story, and the only way an experienced Spider-Man could have fought and won against the Sinister Six. This was just 1.5 years after his solo series, so all these villains teaming up must have been almost overwhelming. This was the first time he even fought a group. A 10 out of 10. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye guys, and have a good day. So much fun.